everyone, it's author Sandra Wilson here in the Kindness Kangaroo Library with another Storytime Session. Today's story is called Ishkabibble Unafraid. It's written by Cindi Handley Goodeaux and illustrated by Jack Foster. And it's just a fun little story that I'm happy to share with you today. Make sure that you click on the link below so that you can get a copy of the book yourself. At the end of the story, we're going to have a little lesson for some story building skills and to inspire a story that you can write of your own. And make sure that you like this video as well. Follow our YouTube channel so that you can check out all the Storytime sessions with all the great books that we like to share. Okay, here we go, everybody. Ishkabibble Unafraid. Ishkabibble was a wobble wibble woo that lived in a place with everyone he knew. Wait, what on earth is a wibble woo? Somebody asked. It may have been you. To answer the question with a big silly grin, a monster of sorts with a blue hairy chin. They are tall but quite small and round like a square. If you search all your corners, you'll find them there. They like to eat socks and prefer them with dirt, though fungus and toe jam never really hurt. Ishkabibble was young, by far the most green, meaning new, not color. You know what I mean. He's wide-eyed with wonder and brave like a knight. Come sunset, our night is filled with such fright. What on earth could a monster possibly fear? A funny voice asks from over there, not here. He's fearful of something that lurks in the night, that lives in his closet and never in sight. It grumbles and rumbles and makes such a sound, then ever so loudly it dances around. Our small Ishkabibble hides like no other, then runs for the door and calls for his mother. There is nothing in here to give you such a scare. Now climb back in bed and try hard not to stare. But, Mom, what if? He stopped short really quick. What if? He felt suddenly quite sick. A little embarrassed and still full of dread, he climbed under the covers of his big monster bed. Sweet Ish, it's okay to feel small and afraid. Just know that I love you and brought lemonade. That was his favorite, so he took a big gulp, filled with pink slimy eyeballs and plenty of pulp. He felt so much better, sighed with a smile. His mother sat by him and read for a while. I really must ask what it is that you fear, she said with a hug. Now tell me, please, dear. My new friend Gofang said he heard from the Frood, you know, he's that really big, strong monster dude, about beings that eat us, hide everywhere, have only 2 eyeballs and lots of short hair. They hang out in gangs and haunt the playground, eat bread filled with whatever is lying around. Before he could finish, his mom raised her hand. Now, what have I told you about these humans? They don't really exist. They are just pretend. Stories that scare you come from mean monster friends. You should never just believe all that you hear. There's nothing that's frightening and haunting you here. She hugged her boy close and kissed him good night. All he could think of was humans that fright. As soon as she left, noises started again. He pulled up his blanket and said, "You're pretend." He thought about Mom and her sweet loving hugs, looked at his tank filled with his favorite pet bugs. He snuggled in tight and hugged his scare bear. I know that you're in there. I'll try not to care. Just like before, in the darkness of night, grumbles and rustling woke up our young knight. He felt strangely brave, wearing a soft blanket cape. He opened the closet, then jumped, mouth agape. A second door faced him, right there in the back. It hadn't been there before, so he feared an attack. Hugging Scare Bear close, he decided to enter. Beyond was a room with a bed at the center. Ish squinted his eyes to peer into the dark. He stepped forward, feeling braver on a lark. Sounds of whimpers and covers being pulled really tight were familiar since he'd done the same just this night. Who's there? A small voice squeaked from the bed. Please don't hurt me. Take my sister instead. This made Ish laugh as his fear gently weakened. No one was scary who was as scarce as he'd been. The room suddenly filled with bright flashlight beams. They searched all the corners, and then there were screams. Both Ish and the boy stood facing one another, both fighting the urge to call for their mother. Yura, Yura, the boy pointed and spoke. Yura, Yura, our little Ish choked. Monster, the human, that each softly said. Then hugging their bears, they both scratched their heads. I thought you'd hurt me, the boy first replied. I thought you'd hurt me, Ish said with a sigh. The two sat down, both facing the other, still holding their bears and wanting their mothers. My friends told me that all monsters eat kids, the boy shrugged and said. I guess those were fibs. My friends told me that all humans eat us, Ish responded and shrugged. They made such a fuss. My name is Jamie, the boy said with a smile, and I'm Ishkabibble. Let's talk for a while. The two talked and talked about this and that, about playing with bugs and games with a bat. They laughed, they hugged, the two became friends, deciding that mean kids were just playing pretend. Not really so different, we happily see, a monster, a child, two best friends can be. They said their good nights, now neither afraid, made their way to their beds, now smiling in spades. Even when beings don't look quite the same, friendship is something that they can claim. And that's the end of the story of Ishkabibble Unafraid. So originally Ishkabibble was afraid, but by the end he was unafraid. I like this story because it has a little bit of a perspective twist. So, we often think there's a monster under the bed or a monster in the closet. But this story talks about the monster fearing what's in the closet. And as it turns out, on the other side of the closet is what they feared the most, which actually wasn't even, they were both just scared of each other. And that actually made them laugh and become friends. So I just love the perspective change on that, which is a great inspiration for a story of your own. Think about something that happens in your life, like the monsters under the bed, or maybe it is your pet, maybe it's something out in the backyard, an animal or a bird out in the backyard, something that you sit and watch and pay attention to. What if the story was about them watching you and paying attention to you? So normally something you sit and watch, maybe it's, the animals and birds in the backyard. Maybe you like to watch your pet sleep or your pet play. Maybe you like to watch other kids play at the park. All these different things that we do and we experience. What if we changed that perspective, gave that twist, and wrote a story from the perspective of the one that we're watching? What would they think of us? What would they think that we were doing? The monster was thinking there was somebody scary on the other side of his closet, and on the other side of his closet was someone thinking that there was something scary. So they both thought they were scary and realized that it wasn't that at all. So maybe as you're looking at something and you're thinking, wow, that's kind of strange, maybe that something is looking back and going, wow, that's strange. They just sit there like a statue, not moving. Maybe it's, if you're watching your pet sleeping, maybe your pet could be dreaming about what it thinks, our kind of life would be like. What does life look like when you're, really low to the ground and you're looking up at somebody, like a pet would? When you're doing things that a pet never has to do, how does they understand those things? So it's just kind of a fun twist to a story. So your story building skill for today is to take something that you normally would watch and write a twist to that story by creating the perspective of the thing that you're watching and how they would think of you. All right, everybody, I hope you enjoyed today's Storytime session, and I hope to see you again in the Kindness Kangaroo Library.